Hey, it's Todd Fox here from Halos in the Infield, and I am pleasantly joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the great Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. How you doing, sir?
Good evening. Hello, Orange County. Todd, great to be back with you. Geez, have we got a lot of baseball to talk about, though. It's the off season, which is going to be as busy as the regular season.
Absolutely. There's so much news to cover on both the Angels, Dodgers, and the Padres. A lot of news with Padres. So stay tuned throughout the show because we are going to get into all three. But first, Lee, it's been a while. I think that we last talked prior to the playoffs. And I got to ask you, where does this World Series rank in all time for you? And what are your thoughts in general on the Dodgers Blue Jays epic World Series?
Wasn't that an electric 7 games? I mean, that was absolutely phenomenal. The mood swings back and forth. Who's going to win it? Who has the chance to win it? Why didn't they win it? Who rallied back to win it? What phenomenal play ended the games. I mean, from start to finish, you go with the 18-inning game, which was just unbelievable. Then obviously the pitchers' duels, then obviously the big plays defensively, and then the home runs. It was just a phenomenal 7 game series. It was like a Hollywood script. It was like The Natural with Robert Redford. I mean, I was so awed just to sit there and to watch it. In terms of how it matches up, we've had so many great World Series year by year. A lot of people compare it, though, to the Big Red Machine and the Boston Red Sox. That's a long time ago, back into the 1970s, but this was just amazing. And in terms of the Blue Jays, I give them an enormous credit. It is tough in postseason to hit because you're facing aces, really good pitchers. Do you know they went to Game 7, Todd? Their team batting average in the World Series was 291, headed to
Wow.
Game 7. And they hit 20 home runs in the postseason. I mean, what a phenomenal accomplishment. And they had guys on base all the time.
Yeah.
And we get to Game 7, and they looked like they were going to win it throughout the course of the evening. But they went 3 for 17 with guys in scoring position, and they wound up losing. Now, in terms of the Blue Jays, they galvanized the Dominion. The entire country became Blue Jay fans. It was a renaissance. I mean, it's been 23 years since Joe Carter's home run at Skydome. So it was so cool to see that country come together. And a prime example, the Blue Jays at that point in time knocked the National Hockey League off the front pages of the sports pages on all the papers across Canada. And people wanted to talk Blue Jay baseball, not Maple Leaf hockey, Montreal Canadiens hockey, Edmonton Oilers hockey, Vancouver Canucks hockey on Sports Talk Radio. And I know that because I'm on a number of different stations in Canada doing my NFL notebooks. So, I mean, it was just phenomenal for those guys to see. I felt really bad for Bichette because he was injured. I thought
Mhm.
Vlad Guerrero's really become a different type player over the last calendar year and a half. Obviously, their pitching was just lights out. And the bullpen was absolutely phenomenal in terms of being called upon. I think those two guys in the bullpen wound up pitching 23 times in the postseason. So, I mean, it was just spectacular. And they were right there, but they couldn't win it because the Dodgers were in the way and the Dodgers kept making plays. And in terms of LA, you just tell me whatever it is, they're going to find a way to win. Need a big hit? Freddie Freeman's bomb. Otani's big home runs along the way. Need a defensive play? Here comes Kiki Hernandez with the game-ending double play. Paez going over Hernandez at the wall to crash into him and kill O'Reilly. And that happened throughout the course of the whole series. The Dodgers kept turning double plays. And then, of course, the gold standard pitching staff was absolutely spectacular along the way. And then Yamamoto, what he did on 17 hours rest coming back to pitch, those 3 innings in Game 7 was amazing. They used all 4 of their starters in Game 7, and they found a way to win the thing. They really earned it. It's not that Toronto really lost it, but the Dodgers, hey, they paid that money to have all those great players and that gold standard pitching staff and the key veterans, all the MVP personalities and batting order won it for them. So that's a long answer to your question. I just thought it was a hell of a fall classic, Todd.
Well, I had to get your opinion on it, man, because I've been waiting to ask you because it was amazing, even for a fan, a non-fan of the team, but just of baseball in general. Just to make how just an inch or a half inch or a half second, Rojas's play at the plate, home, and like you said, the starting pitchers becoming bullpen pitchers because the Dodgers couldn't trust some of their guys, or they had a guy missing on medical leave or a family leave. So yeah, it was an epic World Series. Last thing I got on this one for you to follow up, Lee. We all know the Dodgers will recover from winning their back to back. They're going to go for their third straight. But can the Blue Jays be a force next year, in your opinion, after what some people say a devastating loss, but also encouraging that they got that far? Could they be another? Uh, could they have another year like this one?
Todd, in the big picture, understand this. Your roster is never the same from one year to the next. Injuries change your team. Free agents leaving your team change your franchise. New guys coming on board. Obviously, the wear and tear factor on pitching staffers. So Toronto might not be the same. And the reality is Bo Bichette might be the one that exits. Now, they may sign him. But I will also tell you the Blue Jays are really active talking to a whole number of free agents, and they're going to move some dollars around. And if Bichette defects, which many people think he will, that means there's more money for somebody to come into Toronto and fill that hole and become a star. So it's going to be very interesting now that the free agent window has opened. We'll see how quickly some of these dominoes start to fall. But to me, the most fascinating thing is 51 million people. Think about that in Canada, in the US, and in Japan. 51 million viewers watched Game 7. Baseball at this point is at an all-time high in popularity.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of a shifting age demographic, there's a younger group now watching on TV and going to games. All-time TV ratings, all-time revenue at the gate, all-time attendance. So baseball, I mean, has just shot through the roof. I hope there's no work stoppage. It'd be stupid to stop the growth of this game. Get these two sides together for the entire year of 2026. Find some common ground for better revenue share. We don't need a salary cap in baseball. You got a luxury tax. What we need in baseball is a floor to spending in which everybody's got to spend a certain amount of money, like 140 million. That includes Pittsburgh and Miami and Tampa because they're getting revenue. If we could have the luxury tax stay in place at the top, so that meant the big teams will spend what they want to spend and they'll pay a luxury tax if it goes over the number. But the floor to spending means there'll be more money available for mid-level free agents to go to Pittsburgh, Miami, Tampa, Miami, Pittsburgh, Tampa, Kansas City, Detroit. Those guys got to spend the money because that's the new law of the land. That'll make that product better. Why is the NFL so good? Because they have a cap, a real hard cap, but they also have a big floor to spending.
Yep.
And everybody gets good players, so anybody can win if you got good coaching, you get the right players, you don't have injuries. There's a lot of intangibles. But at the end of the day, that's what's made the National Football League so successful. And every sport, Todd, has a cap, with the exception of baseball. Every sport has a floor to spending. NFL, NBA, NHL. And it's really made a huge difference. So my understanding is that's going to be the point they need to negotiate. Please don't have a work stoppage because this game has just exploded in terms of popularity. Everybody's making money. Why would you do anything to stop the game right now?
100%, Lee. I mean, the momentum is big time right now with baseball. Fans they can't wait for the World Baseball Classic for the season to start. There's a lot of buzz. So, yeah, I'm absolutely baseball can't afford another work stoppage. So I totally agree with your plan right there. So we will now move on to the Angels, Lee, and thank you for summarizing the Blue Jays and the Dodgers World Series. I threw that at you last minute, so I appreciate that. But that's how good you are. You made that like you already did your homework. I love it.
I know what I know.
Yes, you do, sir. So moving on right now, we had a big trade. I want to get your evaluation. Who was a winner, maybe a loser, or who do you how you evaluate the trade between the Orioles and Angels? Taylor Ward being given up to the Baltimore Orioles for Grayson Rodriguez.
I think it's win-win. And we're going to go a little bit more in depth about the Angels' needs and budget and all that. But it's win-win. Orioles hit a plateau. Really good farm system. Had gone through dreadful seasons in Baltimore. They have now elevated this program to be a playoff team. It's still a really young everyday lineup, but they hit a wall the last 2 years. They've had pitching injuries, which have kind of stalled them. The one thing they were missing is a veteran bat to instill in the middle of that batting order that's going to give them power. Well, Taylor Ward hit 36 bombs this past season with a ragtag lineup around him. His batting average wasn't great, but think where he's going to be placed in the middle of that batting order with Gunnar Henderson and Rushman and all the other young guys that the Orioles have. So if you could get 36 home runs and a good batting average out of Taylor Ward, that's good. That adds something that they've not had before. Now, the flip side of that is I was shocked. I mean, I was floored that they traded Grayson Rodriguez. And in terms of looking to the left, Angels, they get the potential of an ace on this pitching staff. That kid was 20-8 before he had problems. And he had elbow bone chip problems for the better part of 3 years, and yet he went 20-8 before it finally caught up to him. He had a lat shoulder injury. While the lat shoulder thing takes rest and rehab and weight work, he's had the surgery for the bone spur. He's throwing in Florida, and heck, he'll probably be coming out to Anaheim to throw there. They got a gem. Now, I grant you, once you have bone spur surgery, sometimes not everybody comes back the same, but sports medicine just is fabulous. And the fact of the matter is, Taylor Ward was in his walk year this coming year. Who knew if they would sign him? They get 4 years of control of Grayson Rodriguez. And if he can be what he was prior to starting to have physical woes, that's a hell of a pitcher. I mean, that's a guy who was 20-8 before he finally admitted, I got bone spur problems. We need to get this fixed. So it was a stunner of a trade to me. I do think it's a win-win trade because Baltimore changes the chemistry of their batting order with Taylor Ward's pop. He was really popular at Angel Stadium. I know that. And obviously the Halos now get themselves a really strong arm guy to go with Kikuchi at the front end of the rotation. Now, work is not done. They still got a lot more to work on.
Yeah, they do. And that'll take us to some key acquisitions. Now, with the rotation we just brought up with Rodriguez right there, Soriano, Kikuchi, and they're sliding Detmers back into the rotation. Mike Maddox is now your pitching coach. You got a new manager. How do you think the Angels have done so far? And what do you think their big needs are here as we approach or we've started the free agent period?
Like Suzuki, baseball, smart guy, learned his craft well, went to work in a front office, has learned a lot of other stuff about the inner workings, roster construction, contracts, things of that nature. And the fact that Suzuki played, 13 years as a major league catcher,
Yes.
moved around, comes with high regard. So I think that's a positive acquisition. The value on Mike Maddox, that's huge. To me, it checks a lot of boxes. Most of the places he's gone, be it obviously in Texas, where he helped construct a World Series pitching staff where they had world of problems. But what he did in Texas with veteran pitchers, what he did in Atlanta, what he did in St. Louis, I mean, the guy brings a pretty good resume there. So I like what they've done in terms of leadership. So that to me is really a positive. Now, they need pitching. I mean, they've got three that you just mentioned. Reed Detmers, to me, is a wild card in this whole thing.
Correct.
There were stretches of time where I thought this kid could be my ace on the Angel staff, and he'd have good first halves of the season, and then he'd regress. Next thing you know, he's in the minors. He can't get people out. Next thing you know, he's getting shelled in Salt Lake City. And they flipped him into a unique role in the bullpen, and he pitched pretty well down there. And then they brought him up, and he pitched, I guess he pitched okay out of the pen with the Angels. So he has potential, but can he get back to where he was a couple of years ago when we saw these flashes? And I think, Todd, you brought it up that, boy, he looks dazzling. At times he looks dazzling.
Yeah.
So if he can be what he was before, here comes Mike Maddox to talk to him. Now you got yourself 4 starting pitchers. Now, they still need depth. I still think they need another frontline starter. And obviously, now they need another oomph bat in that batting order because they're going to need some power with the trade of Taylor Ward. The batting order now has really been undercut. And there are a lot of other questions. Can Mike Trout be what Mike Trout used to be? Now that this is the first off season, he's not sitting around doing rehab. He's sitting around getting ready for the season. Can he be more than a 248 hitter? Will the vintage Mike Trout resurface? You got Adell's situation. The fact they traded Ward, I don't think they're going to trade Adell. Adell finally had a decent year with a batting average. He had a great year as a power hitter. Has he arrived finally after all these years? And then they've got all the kids, the first baseman, the shortstop, the young catcher, and they've got more kids on the way. But again, you can be excited about somebody hitting a AA or a AAA Salt Lake City, but the Christian Moores of the world have to prove they can do it at Angel Stadium. And at this point, all we have is potential. We have not seen that other stuff. So that's a long-term answer, but they've got some potential. They need strength in numbers, and they're going to have to go get more players. And here's a sidebar story here. I don't know if it's got much publicity up there. They have $51 million in budget space in their payroll right now with the trade of Taylor Ward, et cetera, and expiring contracts. They got $51 million, Todd, they can use to go get free agents, go get an everyday player, go get some type of power bat. And now, who wants to come to Anaheim? That becomes a side story, because when you've gone a decade without a winning season, but there are guys that want to be in California, guys who want to play in the sunshine and the nice weather, guys that see these young people. So, maybe they're going to be able to lure some guys, maybe mid-level free agent guys, to get there. So, pitcher, a power bat. You got $51 million. Go get it done. Go find guys who want to play here that are going to contribute. Don't get anybody with an injury history with them. You should be able to add more here to make it a better team. But it's a long rebuild, because they've been down a long while in terms of total overall talent.
Yeah, they sure have. And one other quick question, and that's a good breakdown, because you brought up the 51 million to spend. Is there a way in your mind, or have you heard anything possibly of the Angels possibly trying to trade Soler to try to get some more money to add to what they could spend? And because with Soler and Trout, I mean, Soler really can't play the outfield no more, and Trout, may have to DH here and there, and that takes away from Soler. So, do you see a scenario where that would happen?
I don't think Soler's got any trade value, because nobody wants a contract. Nobody wants a player that's had this history of injuries. Can he be a bounce back player? Sure, he can. If he can stay healthy, then maybe he becomes a power bat and hits for average. But how many times was he down last year with a wide variety of injuries? Most notably, the second half of the season, Todd, I think, was wiped out because of all of his back problems. But
Yes,
they gave him a 2-year deal. He's going to play that second year. He's going to play here, because I don't think anybody wants him at the price tag. So got to get healthy. And then, if Trout can be somewhat of Trout and Soler can stay on the field and be healthy, then you got two bats with power ability, and you can decide who plays in the outfield, who DHs. Hell, maybe you work hard and make one of them a first baseman in a platoon situation. There's things you can work with to try to create diversity with some of your guys. But Trout being Trout would just be absolutely huge in terms of this franchise bouncing back.
Oh, you don't know how much I'd love to see him win comeback player of the year. I know he hit 20 bombs last year, but if he were to hit like 35 or something like that, he should win that award, in my opinion. Now moving on, Lee, the Skaggs thing, the case is continuing. There's been Carpino dodging efforts, some say lying to get out of an appearance. I mean, what's the latest on the Skaggs case, and where do you see it going?
Well, I write about it most every day on my website. So I mean, I try to give you a play-by-play of what happened during the testimony. So it's on my website, leehacksawhamilton.com. If you check it every day, I knew going in it would be dark. I knew going in it would be dirty. I knew going in it'd be angry. It's been all those things because you got the death of a player and you got all this finger pointing. As I sit here now, this is the 6th week of this trial. It's gone the way I thought it would be, that these lawyers were going to try to place the entire Eric K. blame on the Angels organization as, quote, a cover-up. I'm not sure it was a cover-up. I thought some of the testimony has been weird as to what they knew about Eric Kay, what they did for Eric Kay, what they did not ask about Eric Kay. I thought that some of that stuff was really strange. In terms of having Carly Skaggs testify, I understand the emotion and the anger and the rage and the disappointment and that set of finger pointing. But I also say this: they knew Tyler Skaggs had become addicted to painkillers. Whether it was Percocet, whether it was oxycodone, they knew, and they kept it secret. They did not go to the Angels and did not, in essence, ask for help. The Angels had a big investment in Tyler Skaggs. The Angels have all the resources and assets. They could have helped Tyler Skaggs. I understand to a degree the Skaggs testimony versus the Angels. In terms of the Angels' testimony in this whole scenario, admitting that they felt that Eric Kay had physicians, medication problems, balancing things, bipolar disorder, whatever it was. He had 3 different things that were going on at once, and they just felt his medications were out of whack. The fact that they actually, in a degree, did an intervention and got him to the Kaiser Permanente hospitals and finally got him into rehab shows that they cared about the employee. The fact that they had no idea what he was doing in terms of distributing drugs to people is a little bit of a stunner to me. Nobody in that clubhouse that worked in that clubhouse ever saw any of this going on. That's kind of strange because nobody said anything about it up until this trial has begun. And then just what happened yesterday, I think the trial has taken a real turn by virtue of what that pitcher had to say yesterday. Mike, what's his last name? He testified yesterday. He was a pitcher for the Angels for multiple years, had shoulder problems. And the fact that he confirmed that Tyler Skaggs introduced him to painkillers, the fact that he testified that Skaggs introduced him to Eric Kay and Kay began delivering painkillers to the clubhouse, to the 2 pitchers, says volumes about Kay. But at the end of the testimony, the stunning story is the statement that the Angel pitcher made saying, it's a burden on the rest of my life, the way I acted and what happened. And I'm so disappointed in myself. And he said, the Angels are not responsible for Tyler Skaggs' death. Tyler Skaggs is responsible for Tyler Skaggs' death. I thought the whole trial has taken a U-turn based on that conversation. And so now there are still more witnesses who are going to testify, and I'll be interested to see if any of the other players who were kind of implicated initially and were dragged into the Eric Kay lawsuit, whether they're going to testify. But I really thought what happened yesterday was really significant in terms of a player admitting that Skaggs was the point man and Skaggs got him to Kay. Kay got those guys more drugs. They did drugs together. They did drugs in the Angel clubhouse. And then for him to say the Angels are not responsible for Skaggs' death. Skaggs is responsible for all his own actions. I thought that was huge, moving testimony.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And again, if you haven't followed the sports and don't know what's going on, you will if you go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com. So I suggest you follow him there and check out everything because he's been breaking down this case day by day and also has all the world's sports all wrapped into his show. But going back to that, yeah, that's some testimony that Angel fans are really, they're waiting on what's going to happen here. And hearing some of this testimony is pretty crazy. And some of the players that have come in to testify, whether for Skaggs or for the organization or just in general, they are getting a lot of people to come forward. But do you have any insight on when or if Carpino is going to wind up testifying? Because a lot of people are saying that he's dodging testifying.
Well, that's what the Skaggs lawyers are saying, that Carpino is dodging. But I think he'll have to show up. The question is what is going to come out of his mouth in terms of what he's going to say. Is there a smoking gun? Well, as far as I know, Rusty Hardin, a Texas lawyer who represents the Skaggs family, has not presented a smoking gun yet. Is there a cover-up? I've not seen any evidence that there's a cover-up. It's intriguing to me that the Angels have brought up the federal law, the American Disabilities Act, that prevented them from firing Eric Kay, that prevented them from looking on Eric Kay's computer or searching his office for drugs. There's some things there that protect the person. And so when they introduced the federal law part of this whole thing, to me, it kind of pushed Rusty Hardin back a little bit in terms of all the things that he was trying to sales pitch them. Now, I have a hard time believing there'd be a cover-up. Was there some incompetence? Was there some mistakes made? Yeah, I think so. But it's obvious that they tried to help Eric Kay, and Eric Kay was beyond help, even though he went into extended rehab, came back out, and then relapsed again. But for them to say all we thought was he had imbalance in his medications or his bipolar disorder or ADD or depression, that seems a little far-fetched to me when these things kept happening along the way. But they're not down on that clubhouse. That clubhouse is sacred. That, outside of the media that gets to go in for a very limited time, there's not a lot of people from upstairs that are allowed in that clubhouse. That's the player's castle, if you will. So there may have been more stuff going on than we know whatsoever. So, like I told you, Todd, dark, dirty, and kind of sad.
Absolutely. I almost, after everything we talked about the World Series and what's on the field, it gets you hyped up, but then you have to talk about this because it is newsworthy. It does bring you down. So, but I do appreciate your synopsis so far on the case because it is riveting. So again, follow Lee Hacksaw, Hamilton.com. He'll provide you daily updates on the Skaggs case here now in week 6. So with that being said, Lee, let's move on from there. And we're going to talk about a team up the north that just won the World Series for the second time, first time any team has won back-to-back in over 20 years. Any rumors on what the Dodgers are going to do going into the 2026 season?
Well, rumor one, as we got to the end of the World Series and everybody's looking down road immediately because these guys become free agents 5 days after the World Series. The first rumor was that Kyle Tucker, who's exiting the Chicago Cubs, is going to the Dodgers. And that made a lot of sense because the Dodgers are in need of a left fielder. And of course, the Michael Conforto acquisition blew up in their face, and that was a real expensive mistake that did not work out. So you start to link that. But then you also hear, because the National Baseball writers can continue to say, well, Kyle Tucker's looking to set a big record number. He wants 10 years at $400 million. That's an enormous amount of money for a player who is 27 or 28. Now, if it's a 5-year contract, that's one thing, but I don't know that the Dodgers want to establish a new high and give a guy that kind of payday through age 38 or 39. What I've been told, what I've heard, is that the Dodgers are looking different directions. They still need a left fielder. If it's not Kyle Tucker, who, by the way, I think is represented by Scott Boras, if it's not Kyle Tucker, the one I think they're looking to target is Stephen Kwan of Cleveland. Now, he's on the trade block. He was almost traded at the July 31st deadline, but the Guardians did not get what they wanted package-wise. And it makes sense. He's got a year to go on his contract. Cleveland will not re-sign him. They'll shop him and trade him because that's what they've done with a lot of their incoming free agents. And they're talking to a team that is really loaded. The Dodgers have 3 young outfielders in Double-A who are really good prospects. The Dodgers are loaded with Triple-A and Double-A pitchers and young pitching at the major league level. Now, the question is, are the Dodgers willing to go 2 for 1 or 3 for 1 to get Stephen Kwan? Because Cleveland's probably going to ask a lot, and other teams are talking to Cleveland too. But you could do that. I mean, you could take one of those young outfielders, the DePaula kid or Zaire Hope, and you take one of them, and then you package him with one of the young pitchers, maybe Landon Knack, maybe Bobby Miller, and maybe you have to throw something else in, and it becomes a 3 for 1 deal where Cleveland's getting really good prospects, and you're getting an established guy who you can then re-sign, which that's another part of this equation. So that's item one. Tucker was hot. The Kwan story, I think, is hotter. And here's the one that just broke. I've been told that they're talking to Bo Bichette.
Really?
And you get Bichette to Dodger Stadium, and of course his dad was an Angel. But you get Bichette to Dodger Stadium to be your shortstop. You take your shortstop, Mookie Betts, put him back in right field where he's Gold Glove. You can move Teoscar Hernandez and his liabilities in his left field, and you've rearranged all your people. So if they don't get Kwan, maybe they spend their money on Bichette and just rearrange the look of the outfield. So there's going to be a big acquisition somewhere here in this month of December, I assume. And in terms of the other acquisition, they're going to go get a reliever, a closer. I've been told they've already had meetings and they've already decided that Roki Sasaki is going back into the rotation. They're going to spend the entire winter working on his mechanics and his third and fourth pitch to get him ready to go back into that gold standard rotation. So they're going to need some type of closer. They went after Raciel Iglesias, the ex-Angel, but that was a stunner. He just re-signed in Atlanta last night. They're talking to Devin Williams, who did really well in Milwaukee, but boy, he folded badly and pitched very poorly with the New York Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that they've talked to Robert Suarez of the Padres, but that guy's got 88 saves over 4+ years since coming from Japan. Why would you not talk to Robert Suarez? So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of closers out there. So, at the end of the day, I think they're going to go get somebody in the bullpen, and they'll figure out something. Either Bichette comes as a shortstop, or they'll make the deal for Stephen Kwan, and that'll solve their left field problem. So that's what I project could happen, might happen. That's what I hear is being discussed.
Yeah, it seems like they're just trying to reload, and why not? I mean, they've made Dodgers Stadium the fans, I think, what is it, 4 million this year as far as fan attendance, and obviously winning back-to-back championships, having some of the greatest players in all of baseball on one team. Yeah, they've made it a destination for sure. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do moving forward, because they don't have too many holes to fill, as you brought up, but they could sure still add some.
Well, I will tell you this though, they have a lot of age. They're established stars in that batting order. There's a lot of age there, so they need to find a way to get younger. Maybe the three outfielders at AAA are really hot prospects, and they're all in that age 20, 21, 22 bracket, but they need to get a little bit younger in terms of their everyday players in the batting order. So it's going to be interesting to see. And they're not doing anything wrong. Everybody's screaming evil empire. Look at the Dodgers. Well, they're doing what they're doing because they're in the number 2 market in the country, and they drew 4 million fans, and they got multiple World Series rings now. So it's going to be fun. It's a destination point. I think a lot of guys would love to play there.
Absolutely. I mean, they built up the minor leagues, and they've done good in international signings. So, I mean, you can't hate the player. You got to hate the game if that's the case. But moving on, Lee, down south in San Diego, I know some Angel fans were hitting us up when we first got the news about ownership selling or wanting to sell. And they're like, man, why couldn't that happen here in Anaheim? But it's happening down in San Diego. You talked about it all season, saying that there was money issues, that the team was kind of against the wall, even though they were raising prices, had record attendance, like something didn't feel right. You had your fingers on the pulse since even before last year. And with all the Padres stuff going on, just give us the latest, because so Angel fans are just hearing about some of the stuff down at the epicenter where you're at.
Well, at the end of the day, this is kind of stunning, but I just had the emotional projection after Peter Seidler passed, and I knew Peter really well. After Peter Seidler passed, I just had something in my mind and my heart that said, this family is going to sell this franchise. It's not that they don't like Padre baseball. It's just that they're not baseball people. None of the brothers who are in the infrastructure are baseball people. And Peter Seidler's widow is not a baseball person. Peter was the passionate one that drove all this. And I said, well, as the franchise is pretty good, and here we are with just record attendance 3 years in a row. They drew 3.4 million this past season, all-time record revenue of like $458 million in what's supposed to be a small market. And the price of a franchise has gone up. The value of that franchise has gone up. So I just had the sense that these non-baseball people running this franchise might cash their chips in, and they have a right to do that. And the price they're going to get will probably be close to a record. It might be $2 billion. Most of franchises sold for more recently is like 1.7 billion, but this is different. This is Petco Park filled. This is Gaslamp Quarter. These are, the attendance is unbelievable. They've become the team in town since the NFL vacated to go to Los Angeles. So um, it's going to be sold. And there's a lot of investors out there who have tried to buy franchises, let's say in the last 5 years, Todd, that might well put bids in because of how good this franchise has become and the resources it has. And so it wouldn't stun me to see Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, come back and try to get back into baseball. Wouldn't stun me to see the Golden State Warriors owner, Joseph LeCobb, who's tried to buy franchises in the last 5 years, be a bidder. Wouldn't stun me to see Joseph Tsai, who lives in San Diego, very rich man. Joseph Tsai owns newspapers. He owns the NBA Brooklyn Nets. Wouldn't surprise me to see him be part of it. Mark Cuban has tried to enter baseball. He, of course, has now stepped aside and sold his way out of the NBA Dallas Mavericks. He's a huge baseball fan. Obviously, he's got deep pockets. But this is vibrant. This is a vibrant franchise in a vibrant market. It's not like going into Pittsburgh where they can't draw and have not won. It's not like going to Miami where the damage has been terrible in terms of fan support because you put such a bad product on the field with all the fire sales. It's not like going into Tampa where they've never, ever drawn and they're playing in a crummy stadium. This is San Diego. This is Petco Park. This is a pretty good team, dynamic general manager and all that. So it's going to be sold. It's a little bit heart-wrenching that it's kind of ended up this way, but Peter Seidler was a visionary. The rest of the family was just enjoying the games, and they're not baseball people. So I think that's the end result as to why this is probably going to happen. But this is a hot commodity, and I think they'll come out of this with, I think, very good ownership.
What do you think the timetable would be on the sell? And number one, and number two, would that affect this off season or the next off season in your mind?
That's a good question. This stuff takes a lot of time. At this point, my gut feel is the Seidlers have decided to sell just because of the fact I think financially they've tapped out the marketplace. I
Mm.
don't think that they can raise these ticket prices anymore. They've raised the prices, tickets, parking, food, 57% in 5 years. I mean, it is really expensive to go to a Padre game. Now, it's become the thing to do because it's the only thing to do in San Diego. And the team has been, product's been really good. And they got this fierce rivalry with the Dragon up north, the Dodgers. But the reality is that they are hogtied to some unbelievably big contracts.
Yeah.
Their top 7 players, Todd, are owed $981 million over
Wow.
the next group of years through 2036. So there's a massive financial commitment there. You're tapped out. You still got to spend money to put a better product on the field. So I think they woke up with the reality we don't want to have to start making cash calls from the other owners. And that happened a couple times under Peter Seidler. They came to the reality that's why we're going to sell it. But good product right now, not much of a farm system. They got holes in their pitching staff everywhere because of injury and age that they're going to have to find a way to address in the next couple of weeks as we go to the winter baseball meetings. But Padre baseball is a fun time down there at Petco Park.
Yeah, it was an amazing venue to go to. Went to a couple games this year, just regular season games, and they were really fun. The atmosphere is tremendous. But I could understand where the ownership and the family come from because that's a lot of pressure to win. You mentioned the Dodgers, the Giants are always contending, the Diamondbacks are here and there, but they want to contend, they want to get that World Series title. But yeah, I mean, um, to follow up on that though, as far as the Padres are concerned, can they be, or at least in this transition right now, is there an ownership group or a particular, you mentioned a few names, but is there an ownership group that's going to see what San Diego has done and you feel that to get them to the next level, because there's only one more level to go, Lee? I mean, they were there, they had a good enough team, because I didn't ask you how the Padres finished the season? I know they came up short against the Cubs, but did you feel that that was their ceiling last year with everything they had going on, or did you think they underperformed?
I thought it was a disappointing end. I have said over the last couple of years, their window to be a World Series team, it's like this, and it's starting to close because they've got a wide variety of aged players. Their pitching staff was getting older. Manny Machado is plus 30. Xander Bogaerts is plus 30. And their window to me was really tight. And I thought a year ago when they had the Dodgers 2-1 in that wild card series, I thought they're going to put them away. That was where they were supposed to win it, go through the window and try to get close to the World Series, and it didn't happen. And then this time they get into the wild card round and they get knocked out almost immediately. Their roster, as it's constructed, is good. They have a hole at first base now because they're not bringing back Luis Ariz. They're not going to pay $14 million to a single hitter, despite the fact he's won batting championships. So they need some power. They were 28th or 29th in Major League Baseball in terms of home runs. So they need a power bat. Can they get a power bat to play first base? Big question there. Might need an outfielder. Is there a power bat in the outfield that they might be able to go get and convince? And they definitely need pitching. I mean, Nick Pivetta had a phenomenal season, best season of his career, the ex-Red Sox starter, but his contract spikes. His contract goes from, he made $1.5 million last year, the way it was structured. His contract goes to $19 million on opening day this season. So at the end of the day, they need a second starter because there is no Yu Darvish. He might be retiring after another elbow surgery. We just don't know what's going to happen with Joe Musgrove. He has worked hard to recover from elbow surgery, but sometimes it takes more than a year for a guy to be what the guy used to be. And there's no guarantee Joe Musgrove can be vintage Joe Musgrove, the horse and the flag carrier on that pitching staff. They've lost Michael King. They've lost Dylan Cease. Both those guys rejected qualifying offers. They've got a whole series of guys that have started games, but none of them are what I'd call established rotation guys that just say, that's my guy. They got people in the bullpen, but you take Adrian Morion out of the bullpen and put him back where he came from in the rotation. He got hurt when he was a starting pitcher. Mason Miller started his career as a starting pitcher, became an ace in a bullpen. He got hurt as a starter. Why would you change anything in the bullpen when that thing's a lock right now? You just got to go get starting pitching. It's complicated. They don't have a ton of money to go get starting pitching, and they got virtually nothing in the farm system because they traded 14 people in the farm system last July to make all those transactions for the pennant race push. So they're kind of caught between the rock and the hard place. AJ Preller is a wheeler dealer. I have no doubt that he's going to make a deal to rent a pitcher, probably somebody on a 1 or 2 year deal. Maybe he'll make a deal, bring somebody back who's coming off some type of surgery that he believes can pitch. I think he'll go to Japan. I think he'll try to find a bounce back pitcher. There's a couple of former minor leaguers that have done well over there. He might bring one of them back. Nobody knew who Robert Suarez was because he had failed in Mexico, was failing in Japan, and AJ brought him here, and he had 88 saves in 4+ years. So AJ's resume shows a lot of accomplishment in terms of going out and renting pitchers, finding pitchers, but he's got to find arms because right now he's got one established starter, and he's got holes at positions 2 and 3, a question mark with Joe Musgrove at 4, and just a bunch of kids that have never really established themselves at number 5. So a lot of work to be done there, and he's got contracts that are spiking. Pivetta's contract goes way up. Manny Machado gets a big pay bump. Tatis gets a big pay bump. Jackson Merrill obviously signed the big mega contract. His number goes up. I think they might have $30 million left to go into the market to try to find some established players. $30 million doesn't buy you superstars, so they'll probably chop that money up and use it to rent guys on short order. They're good, but they're not what they were opening day last year or 2 years ago, or what they were when the playoff game with the Dodgers. They're going to have to find more arms.
Toughest job so far, or toughest season for AJ, you think?
No, because everybody's excited. I mean, AJ is responsible for this whole creation of this roster. Mm-hmm. He's also responsible for burning through an enormous amount of money.
Yeah.
And he's responsible for the unbelievably long contracts that he's given Machado, Tatis, Darvish. Contracts are expendable. These guys are 40 years old, still collecting huge deals. But that's the way he does his business. I mean, and the farm system, he's traded the farm system away 4 times in 12 years. Think of that. But his currency is different than the Dodger currency. Dodger currency is their checking account. Padres currency is their farm system. I mean, they've traded so many guys away that are now playing on other teams, but it allowed them to get Juan Soto. It allowed them to rent Matt Kemp back in the day when he first got here, and Justin Upton, things like that. So he's have to work some magic here to make this happen. But you understand the guy is so unique and so different, so unorthodox. You trust that AJ will find a way to get an arm in here or get 2 arms in here, and who the hell knows where they're going to come from. But he's done it virtually every offseason. So to me, it's just fascinating.
Yeah, you got to have that faith, but I know you're going to be there for every signing and every rumor that comes across the wire, Lee. Appreciate your time tonight. I know you're a busy man. You got a lot going on, but anytime we can get you on the show, it's much appreciated. The fans love it. And man, again, Lee, tell them a little bit more about your show and how it works, just in case they're not familiar.
Okay, you're up in Orange County. You're an Angel fan. I get all that. I do sports talk differently. I do everything. I cover every sport. That includes the Angels and the Dodgers and the Padres and what's going on in Major League Baseball, plus the NFL and college football, the NBA, the NHL. I do this my own podcast, kind of like I did Sports Talk Radio, a ton of topics on the table. And then we let the fans participate in a thing called Fans Forum through the chat box. It's kind of cool. If you just type in my name, go YouTube, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, it'll take you to my podcast. We did a 2-hour podcast today. We do one Monday, we do one Thursday. There's a ton of stuff up on my YouTube channel. The other thing, I write every night on my website, and you can check it first thing in the morning. It's just leehacksawhamilton.com. You get the best 15 minutes in sports. You get my one man's opinion columns, and I cover anything, everything in headline form. I think you'll kind of like that. So that's what we're doing. World's changed. I never thought I'd be doing a podcast and a website after all the years of doing sports talk radio at the old 690 and mighty 1090. But here we are, and it's rolling. So I invite everybody in Orange County, sample what I do in San Diego, because you'll like it.
Absolutely. And again, he covers everything. So there's a great chance he's going to cover your team in your town. So with that being said, Lee, we appreciate it here on the Heedy Network, and we look forward to the next time you can come on and chat baseball with us, hopefully with some signings here in Anaheim and some good news moving into next season.
Well, we got the winter baseball meetings just around the corner, so we'll probably be hooking up sometime in December in the aftermath of what I think is going to be a busy, busy time. Todd, always good to talk to you. Be well.
You too, sir. Have a good one.
Thank you.